Hello, and welcome to the Beautiful Business Podcast. I'm Paul Bulpitt, your host, and today I'm exploring the power of human first marketing with Becky Simms, founder and CEO of Human First Collective, an agency that puts customers at the heart of strategy, combining creativity with real life solutions for clients, such as HelloFresh and the RSPCA. Becky is a passionate advocate for digital innovation, behavioral economics, and creating human centered workplaces. What started in 2011 as a dream in Becky's head has grown into the Human First Collective, with agencies such as Reflect Digital and the Lab Group employing over 60 people. We'll be talking all things agency acquisition and more specifically life post acquisition. We'll talk about how Becky prioritizes culture as an agency leader, why integrating teams and team culture is so important to any business. We're going to look at the delicate balance of remote and hybrid work environments, the 4-day work week that they've implemented, and whether there are limitations to being a human first business. This episode is packed with inspiration. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Beautiful Business Podcast from The Wow Company. If you're growing a UK business with a team of 8 to 80 people, you're in the right place. Every fortnight, we share honest conversations with brilliant business minds, exploring the realities of leadership, the challenges that come with growth, and the practical ideas that make a real difference. From purpose to profit, people to process, this is your space for fresh thinking and down-to-earth inspiration.
Welcome, Becky, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Very excited to be here.
Oh, great. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation we're going to have today. So before we get started, first question that we ask all of our guests is tell us one thing that I can't find out online or on LinkedIn or I might not already know about you.
Oh, so I have told a few people this, but it is little known. And I do aerial silk. So I choose to climb a silk and hang from it and create shapes in it and drop from it. I'm not very good, but I really enjoy it. It's good fun. It's a really nice like little community of mainly women. We have had some guys, but not often. And we just support each other. And it's quite scary because you're like, I'm gonna drop now. Have I done it all properly? And you cannot think about work or anything else, or even the washing up you haven't done at home. You just have to be in the moment, and it's brilliant.
And how long have you been doing that for?
I've been doing different circus stuff probably for about 10 years now, which you'd think that maybe I'd be better than I am. But yeah, I used to do hoop and then I've moved over to silks because I kind of hit a ceiling and was like, I'm going to try something different.
Well, and like you say, you can't be checking your phone or contactable whilst you're wrapped up
No,
in a silk halfway up in the air.
no. And you can't even think about it. That thing that happened in the day, it's just gone because you have to be making sure you're wrapping yourself properly because otherwise you're going to have a painful drop.
I think you probably won the prize for like best thing that we didn't know about anyone. Coming on to your business career, we're going to talk today about Human First Collective, about Reflect Digital. When was it that you first knew that you wanted to run your own business?
Oh, I was a little tot, and my dad ran his own business. So he was the MD of a software business. And growing up, this always sounds. I don't think I ever realised at the time that this was different, and it's very 2025 to be fair. He ran a lot of his day-to-day runnings of the business. He did from home, so we lived in Kent, and the office was North Kilburn. And so he worked from home 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and somehow had the setup working that he could do that back in the sort of in the 90s into the early 2000s. So quite a maverick, I guess, ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And I used to just watch him work, and I just loved it. And I'd go to the office whenever I could go to the office, and I literally wanted to run my own company and be like my dad. He had whenever he'd get a new briefcase, I'd be like, "Oh, can I use that?" And I used to use it almost like a toy to play with the briefcase and pretend I was going to work. And yeah, it just was in me from a very young age. You're going to go on and run some kind of business. I had no idea what, but that was the ambition.
Oh, wow. And I guess that also shows the importance of role models.
Mm,
Hey,
it
and
really
I know that
does.
that's something that you do now. But so you co-founded or you founded Reflect Digital in 2011,
Yes,
if
yeah,
I'm
a
right.
long time ago.
What was your when you so when you started that? What was your original? What was the dream when you started?
So I left school and I job hopped a bit to try and because I knew I didn't want to go to uni, and I thought I'm going to just try and find out what my thing is because I'd always had this kind of ambition, but not what the company might be.
Hmm.
And I'd ended up working in a digital agency, and I always say I fell into that. I swear at the interview I didn't even really understand what an agency was, which I think still happens to a lot of young people today. They probably sit in these interviews going, I don't really know what this is. Um, and I fell in love with it. And as soon as I kind of was a couple of months in and was like, this is it, I found my thing, I knew that I needed to soak up enough knowledge that one day that would be what I would do. So 2011, I was like, that's it. I'm ready to give it a go. Was I ready? Probably not, but I don't think you're ever ready. But I was probably quite naive to it. But again, I do always say, I think if you knew as much as I know now, I don't know if
You'd
I'd have
never do
done
it.
it.
Yeah.
So it's good that you're a bit naive. I worked at two agencies. One of them was it was a nice place to work, lots of lovely people, but they got the people bit wrong of how to manage people. Like I remember working every hour under the sun, giving my everything, and then being told, oh, that doctor's appointment, you need to use holiday for that. And being like, this is mad. Like I
Right.
am giving blood, sweat, and tears. So it kind of fueled my passion to create somewhere that people would love to work and that I would love to work. I wanted to try and be able to create an environment where the benefits that I would get, I would be able to pass on to the team as well.
My parents ran their own business, and I had like the same thing. Didn't know what I wanted to do. Ended up in accountancy. Worked for someone who didn't treat well. The guy that ran the firm was amazing, but there was another senior guy in the firm who delighted in not treating people very well, and that's what drives me for it. It's really interesting to see that motivation so many years on. Hey,
And you know what? We do so much to inspire young people, and one of the things I always say is you have got to go and have some good bosses and some bad bosses. You need to have that angel on your shoulder that you go, I want to be like that person. They were
mm,
incredible for me. They helped drive me, inspire me. And you also need to have that devil on your shoulder where you go, oh, they made me not want to come to work. They made me not do X, Y, and Z. Because then you can really find where you want to sit and you really know what it feels like as an employee to not enjoy coming to work so that you can then make sure that you're not creating that yourself. If you don't truly know what that feels like, I think you could probably mistakenly do some things that might not be in the best interest of them and might not be able to put their feelings first.
yeah. So, do you ever have maybe school leavers, college leavers come and work for you, having not worked somewhere else before, and they think that the environment that you have at Human First Reflect Digital is the norm, is normal?
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely have that. We definitely have that. And and then so that's why I think we've also had a bit of a culture where people have left and we've also had people then come back because they think the grass is greener elsewhere and then they realize and they're like, oh, actually, I'd like to come back. And if they're really great and we left on really good terms, which we always aim to do, they've come back. But do you know, I was talking about it with a colleague the other day and I'm sure she won't mind me saying, but they'd had someone pass away in their family, someone a really important member of the family, and she was saying in the company she used to work in, on that day, it would have been a choice of, well, you've got 1 day compassionate leave, you either don't come today and have the day off, or you need to save it for the funeral. And it's like, oh my word, that is like, it's just madness that there's companies out there that that's how things operate. And I
Yeah.
literally am just, I lead with empathy in everything I do. And yeah, we're the complete opposite. It was take as long as you need, go be with your family. It doesn't matter. Work does not matter today or for the next week or whatever you need. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it?
yeah.
Um, so just going back to your story. So since 2011, what have been the key milestones over what's that 14 years?
So many, because there's that starting out. There's probably one of the earliest first milestones that's so important is the first time someone says, "I'm going to pay you money to deliver this service," and you have to work out how you're going to go and deliver this service. Um, and I still remember that. And that client stayed a client for a very long time until she sold the business, actually. So that was incredible. But yeah, you just having these moments where you're like, people need to trust me. And I was like 22 at the time or 23. So you're really young going in having these conversations, which in some ways we started targeting law firms early on in the business. And I think it helped that I was quite young because they just looked at me going, well, we assume you should know about this technical modern stuff that that a lot of the partners, and I am generalizing here, but a lot of the firms we were talking to were run by partnership kind of structure, a lot of males, a lot of further on in their career that weren't really into the kind of modern techie stuff and thinking about Google and whatnot. So therefore, for them, it was like that young person must know. So actually, I think it was a bit of a benefit being young, and I was just naive. I had this confidence about me that I just guess I thank my dad for instilling in me, and just was able to go out there and try and sell what we were selling. And then, yeah, then you start hiring people. So initially it was using freelancers, then you start hiring people and you realize all the great things that come from that, but all the challenges that come from having people in the business, and then all the stresses that come from, okay, so now hitting these numbers means more because these people have mortgages to pay that are related to whether we get the money in the bank to be able to pay their salaries. And there were definitely months where you're not sure how you're going to make the salary bill, and the stress that comes with that. And it's interesting. You end up, I was saying to someone the other day, you end up getting to a point where your highs and your lows don't feel massively different because you're just constantly surviving on this roller coaster of running an agency business. And yet you do appreciate your highs, but you don't go over the top with them because you know, well, tomorrow there's another day to get on with. But then also your lows, you're like, well, we had worse. We've had not knowing how we're going to pay our staff, and we worked it out. So we'll find a way through this. We will find a way because where there's a will, there's a way.
You said before about if you know what you know now, you might not have done it in the first place, which I think is like I can totally relate to. But looking back to sort of like those early days, hiring your first people, your first clients, what would you have done differently? What have you learnt now that you might have advised yourself in your mid-20s to have done differently?
So I just didn't have enough experience in managing people. So I definitely, that was something that I think I was doing on the job. So I was learning how to manage people whilst managing quite a few people. Um, so I think having a mentor, we have a non-exec director now, the fabulous Nikki Gathenby, as you guys know. But also actually, and this is a genuine point. You haven't paid me to say this, but working with Wow was a turning point for us actually, because pre-WoW, we'd been working with accountants that were fine. They knew how to do accountancy. They were doing their jobs properly. But I think we started to realize we needed experts that understood our business, that could help feed us insights. And obviously, it's something that WoW do incredibly, and probably do more than most in all the kind of bench press and everything that you do. But having people that truly understand your business that can give the right advice. So I think in the early days, we just were working with people that seemed good at what they were doing and that could help us. And then we realized actually we needed to be supported by more specialists that could give us that extra bit, that are seeing people that are ahead of us and can kind of point things out to us that we don't know.
So that's really interesting. So are you saying that you had a mentor, you had mentors right from the start?
Yeah, so I had my dad that was fantastic as a business owner, and he was brilliant at like bouncing stuff off of. But he'd never run an agency, and I think when I think back to 2011, there wasn't the level of networking that goes on in agencies now. There weren't the agency collectives, the agency hackers, and all the different types of groups that exist. And I was young. I just come up with this idea that I could run an agency. I didn't know other people that ran agencies other than the businesses that I'd left. LinkedIn wasn't as prolific as it is now. So all those things, there was kind of a turning point where we started networking when we went to our first agency collective event. And that was probably around the time that we met Wow. And suddenly it was like, oh, we're not alone. And I mean, for anyone listening to this that doesn't work in agency world that's running another business, we are really lucky in agency world that people, the community is just incredible. Like you literally sit next to your competitor and you share openly and you support each other. And and it's something that probably in a lot of sectors doesn't happen, but trying to find that group of people that you can support you, that you can share openly and get advice on and get good connections from, etc., is just so important.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. And just that abundant mindset, that actually you can sit, like you say, you can sit next to your competitor, people that you learn from, but so much good stuff comes from it. More good comes from it than anything that you might lose from sharing with a competitor, right?
Exactly. There is so much work out there for everybody. It is more a case of let's support each other to do this really hard thing, because running an agency is a really hard business. Your product is often people. people can be unpredictable, people choose to move on, people get ill, things happen. So there's so many things that are out of your control in delivering the brilliant work that you aim to deliver, and that your people aim to deliver as well. So yeah, it's having those people that you can rely on, and I'm part of so many WhatsApp groups now, and but I've got one where there's about probably 12 of us in there that have got to know each other really well as agency owners and our customers friends now. But they are people that I literally could ask anything to, and I know that we'd rally together and help each other and find a solution and support each other in the good times, bad times, and everything in between.
That's amazing. So, coming back to your journey, your story, fast forward several years, and you decided to join the lab group.
Yes, yeah. So 2019, and it probably started in conversations in 2018. We met the team that were running Lab as an agency, and they shared with us this vision to create a group founded on human behavior. And it was, it sounded so interesting. And I suppose my mindset has always been there's no way I know it all, and I really want to learn. And this felt like an opportunity to learn. It was like, actually, yes, we're growing. We passed a million at that point. So we were of a size and of a team, using my voice. Um, but we didn't know it all. We hadn't been there before. We hadn't worked in larger agency. And this opportunity came up, and we were like, actually, this also helps give us a new USP to be able to bring human behavior into what we were doing, because we'd always been very good at SEO, paid media, all the different services. At the time, we were more full service, so we were delivering websites as well. But we didn't necessarily have an edge, a reason why it's just us that you should be talking to. This opportunity presents itself, and fantastic people, wonderful team, felt like values were really aligned. We did some pitches together, and that's one tip. If anyone's looking at acquisition or being acquired, I do think going and doing a pitch together, so finding an opportunity where both your services make sense and you can go through the stress and the pressure of putting a pitch together, delivering it in the room, really great way to kind of test out the cultural fit and how you work together.
Yeah,
So
that
we
must
did
be
things like
fascinating.
that.
See how people behave like under pressure, or in that. Is this someone that well communicated well when you're preparing for the pitch? Yeah,
Exactly. And also, if it's something that your team obviously might not know about the bigger picture, but it still is quite normal to say, look, we're going to work with this partner, we're going to pitch this project together. So obviously, it doesn't always work. You can't always find the right opportunity, but it was a really good way to test out whether we worked well together. So we did that, and then we ended up doing this deal with the vision. So there was no kind of exit plan for Paul and I. The plan was that we were going into it to be part of the lab group with shares in the wider group. I had a seat on the board of the wider group, and we were going to build this thing together, which started brilliantly. Honestly, in some ways, it's crazy to think how quickly the positive impact was for Reflex. Within weeks, we had won some large scale clients that we were not getting the opportunity to be in the room with those type of clients as Reflect on our own. And they just walked us into these clients, and we were signing these deals, and we were like, this is incredible. This is why we did it. This is going to work. Um, but obviously, if anyone picked up on 2019 as a date, if you're thinking about then what comes next, 2020 hits, and well, yeah, COVID, which was crazy, and again just shows the unpredictability of running a business and decision making, and actually I am grateful that we were part of the group for when COVID hit, because actually having that wider support, we made some tough decisions, just around, like, for example, we put a salary cut on everybody the aim was to save jobs, and I think we did save everybody's job. But I think this was even before furlough had been announced, as a thing. We were like, look, we're going to drop everyone's pay just a little bit, all of us equally, everyone, because we want to save the greater good. We want to all be able to still be here at the end, because we had clients dropping like flies. Like, I think over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, we'd lost 70% of revenue. And you couldn't stop these people. You couldn't go, well, I've got a contract. Here's my contract. It was just such a weird time, wasn't it? Um, we had to let clients with the view of, look, we'd like to pick this contract up when it makes sense to, but we do understand. And we were trying to kind of write things like that into the conversations, because you just watch your business literally slip through your fingers. Um, but actually, to the, I guess, to the empath in me and how we look after our team, that 80%, well, dropping pay to 80%. And by the end of the year, we went on to have an incredible year because, unbeknownst to us at the point that we were making that decision, 2, 3 months later, everyone was moving all of their marketing budget into digital, and we went on to have the best year we'd ever had. So we, at Christmas time, gave everyone back every penny that they'd missed,
Oh, wow.
and that was
That's
like,
amazing.
to this day, that's one of my favorite days of work ever, was getting to tell the team that that's what we were doing and what we could do. And we could have easily gone, oh, that's a win for us, bit more profit in the business. But it was the absolute right thing to do, was to thank everyone for their support and commitment and everything they've done for us at a very tricky time.
And like, so what's interesting sometimes is those tough times actually like form the team somewhat, don't you find?
Yeah, definitely. Well, and it was so weird as well because we were all learning how to communicate through video calls at a really kind of important level. You think all those kind of meetings that you would have always done face to face, suddenly you're having to do through video call and having to read the room and read people in a different way. I remember the call where I had to tell the team that we were dropping salaries. What a weird thing to do with everybody on screen, and like I was quite emotional about it. And so we went through a big thing together, and there was a lot of pulling together, a lot of support. And actually, just on that session alone, there were some lovely messages that came from the team and from people, not even senior people in the business, but just going, "I really understand what you're doing," and that we've all got each other's backs here, which just shows the kind of family vibe that we do have at Reflect. And yeah, so that was us kind of then, as I say, we went on to have a brilliant time, but actually, some of the other businesses in the lab group, because at this point we'd bought a couple of other businesses, we were going through COVID, but it was a really tricky time. I mean, the last 5 years have been so weird from a economic, political, everything happening in the world. It's made clients much less reliable. Like, they don't want to sign off the long contracts. They don't want to pay the big money, and they certainly at that point weren't spending money on big enterprise solutions, which is what the majority of the lab business was delivering. So we then, as a group team, were looking to try and get private equity in to be able to continue the build of the group. And I think the senior team leading that group team, their vision was that we'll get this money in, we'll buy these other agencies, and we'll fix anything that's not quite working. And as I'm sure you know from your world, like, these deals don't always happen. You can get millimeters away. You can get like pens about to hit paper, and someone said, "No, actually, for whatever reason, we've changed our mind. This isn't happening." And I think the one bit of advice that I think your fabulous co-founder Pete said to me when we were doing any kind of M&A was, "You can't take your eyes off of the day-to-day of the business. You've got to find that balance." And I think that's what the senior team had maybe got a bit wrong from a lab perspective. They weren't having that deep dive into what was going on in the business day to day. So anyway, it gets to a point that we're doing quite well. One of the other agencies is doing quite well, and some of the others are not doing so well. So the lab team did understand and actually were really brilliant about letting us find a way to reverse back out of the group. So we quite quietly did that. We didn't make a big thing about it. We still were friends, not family. But we managed to take ourselves back out of the group, as did a couple of the other businesses who've gone on to continue to be successful. Um, but then my position sitting on the board, I could still see what was going on. We still had shares in the group. So we're still invested in trying to see if this would turn around. But it was at a point where it couldn't turn around. This is 2023 at this point. We reversed out probably June. And then by the November, the conversation, it's time to have that conversation. And we ended up with about 10 working days to do a deal, which your team were fabulous at helping us. The lawyers said that can't be done in that amount of time. They found a way. We literally turned this deal around um, to be able to pick the team up from liquidation, then have to tell all the clients. But for the clients, I think we were kind of superheroes at that point because some of them had spent a lot of money with Lab building projects that weren't quite over the line. And had Lab gone completely, all of their money would have gone, the projects would have gone, everything. So we were definitely, as much as it was risk for us, we were doing it for those clients and for that fantastic team to to try and hold things together. While we're having these kind of deep, important conversations and doing all this legal stuff that has to get done, there's maybe empath going, oh, we got the Christmas party next week. Wouldn't it be lovely if we could get these people to the Christmas party to, because they've had a pretty rubbish year and this is going to be some pretty rubbish news to hear. And it won't feel very nice if we're out having a party and they're all at home. Is there not a way we can make this happen? So, alongside Paul doing what he does best and the operational stuff and making that happen, you've got me kind of going, how are we going to make this work? Because we can't tell the people yet because they don't know that this is happening. But how can we kind of set everything up that once we've told them, and I remember again, that was a bit of a weird conversation because we're telling them this like really important news and they now work for a different company. And then you've got me going, Christmas party. But it was so important because it's all about people first and building those relationships. And some of these people we hadn't met before, some we obviously had because we'd been working closely. But being a remote business and the time and Lab hadn't been investing time in getting people together the way we do at Reflex. So bringing those people together that actually some of us hadn't met, but also some of them hadn't met each other, their colleagues, was just what we needed to kind of show what we meant and what this meant to us and the kind of way that we were going to work going forward.
So you've gone into the group, COVID's hit, kind of that hit everyone really, didn't it? You've then had a like a stonking year, best year ever, and then you realise that everything around you's like falling apart, and you might be liable for someone else's situation. Was there not part of you that just wanted to walk away altogether?
With everything that had happened and reversing Reflect back out of Lab, there had been a financial hit to us. So there was a nervousness that we weren't in the strongest position that we should have been in, but we weren't in that position. So it was like, this is a risk. But for me, it just was completely outweighed by the care for the people and what brilliant people were there and colleagues that we love working with and a belief that that could work again, but also for those clients. And I suppose the business side of it, so not just on part of my emotion, some of those clients that would have been let down and would have lost projects were our clients as well. So there was a real risk on the business side of, okay, they thought us as one. They then hear this terrible news. They've lost a couple of hundred grand they've invested into a website, for example, that they then go, well, I'm done with all of you. This feels really risky. And go and find a new performance agency as well as a new dev agency. And then that would have been really detrimental to us and to our team because we would have definitely ended up losing people because of that. So there were some business reasons around it as much as the people, but all of it all together, it just felt like this is the right thing to do. We believe in this business. We can make this work, and it's not been easy, and it's still not perfect. I'm sure, like no business is. So it's a changing landscape in the tech space at the moment as well. The words AI, let's get them out. They're coming out in every conversation these days, but it's changing the shape of some of the industry and what people are looking for and how people are doing things.
Looking back over that time since you acquired Lab, or since you've taken over the whole group, what have been the biggest challenges in that period?
Oh, there's been a lot. I suppose balancing the finance side of it and making sure that we were safe in what we were doing and that we weren't sticky plastering stuff that we knew. So trying to get the right level of business into Lab has been a challenge. But we've I think one of the best moments actually in after we'd taken them from liquidation when we're ringing clients. And that's quite a risky moment when you're telling them this news. And we were quite honest with them with what's happened. That without fail, every single client, the main thing they kept saying was, let me just check. So we still get to work with the same team. And we, yeah. Okay, cool. Well, that doesn't matter then because we love working with the team. So we were like, okay, so this is really good. So we're not, there was those phone calls just made me feel so much better that we weren't going to have a load of clients going, "Oh, okay, or let me go and check my contract. How soon can I get rid of these guys and do something different?" Um, the culture side of it. So when we were in the group together, there were things that did work, but we'd never. It was always us and them between all of the businesses. Everyone felt it, and it was always, "Oh, I don't know what's going on here. I'm gonna look out for my guys over here or my team over here." Um, and we've tried really hard to change that, and I think we are succeeding in that. It feels, I mean, today that we're filming this is we've got our team day tomorrow, So everyone's either here already or arriving today. And the vibe and the feeling and the way people are working together is just brilliant. And I think the key to that has been bringing people together in person, because that's something that we weren't. And obviously, COVID stopped that for many reasons, as we all know. But there were points where you then could.
Yeah, so across that combined culture now, you said before it didn't work. I don't think culture is something that you ever crack, is it? But do you feel like you're on the right tracks with that now?
Really do, really do. And I think the openness. So one of my biggest lessons, and I often talk about this because it's the one of those simple lessons that I didn't see it before. So we've always been good at asking for feedback. Always try to create an open culture of literally tell me what you think and like give us the feedback, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, and we will do something about it. So we've always done that, but we were missing a trick with that. We were not tying together you said this, so we've done this because of what you said. So we were taking the feedback and we were making changes, but we weren't drawing the parallel to tell people, I think that's because you said this. So I think people weren't necessarily realizing that it was their ideas that were shaping the culture and the things we were doing and the things we were changing. And that's been a real shift in being really open in talking about that, but also open in talking about things that we can't do. So sometimes there's feedback where you go, well, I can't change that. Clients be clients and all that. Like there's certain things that you get the feedback and it's like, well, we can't change that. We could try and look at different ways of process, etc. But being really honest and open about what you've actually done and tying it back has really made a difference, I think, in people realizing that we list it. And therefore it opens the floodgates of them going, oh well, I'll tell you more stuff, which
Yeah,
is
because
brilliant.
I know you're going to listen. I'll share more stuff when that feedback loop's
Exactly.
completed. For anyone thinking like who's either going through an acquisition at the moment, who may have recently gone through an acquisition, what bits of advice would you give them specifically on the culture, getting that culture bit right post acquisition?
So it's making the people part of the problem themselves a little bit. So trying to hand the keys over to them to not just go, we're going to do these things and it will be perfect. Asking the team to form the things. So we've got working groups across the business for all different things, but we have a human first working group where they talk about what's working, what's not working culturally. So that's important. So yeah, you can't just control the culture. The culture is everybody. So they need to be part of solving it. Um, Also, I think we started running Ask Us Anything sessions as part of, I think, like month one that Lab had joined us, and we've carried them on. So in the diary, once a month, there's an hour in the diary. Whoever wants to join can join. You don't have to come. You can literally ask us anything, even the awkward questions if you really want to, and we'll do our best to squirm and find an answer. In the beginning, there were much tougher conversations. I'd say now, every now and then, we get a quite a interesting question, and then we end up having a bit of a giggle, and it's quite a fun session that people come along to, and just another nice cultural moment in the month where we spend time together. Um, we also, I think, when we were chatting before, I was telling you about our team meeting setup. So obviously, today I've got on a part of our nice setup with one of our nice cameras, but we really invested in how to run team meetings better. So we were getting feedback from the team, and this was pre-lab joining us as well. That Reflect team were saying, oh, I found at home I can't really hear properly, and especially if people, because some people would be in the office, so you'd have kind of me just presenting to a laptop, and you'd have people in the office, and if they started talking, people at home literally had no idea what's going on. They can't even see who's saying what. It was just a bit of a shambles. So no one really looked forward to the team meeting. So we then, Chris joined our team and we started to set up this brilliant, it's almost like a mini TV studio. He's got a proper mixing desk for changing to whether we're coming to somebody that's out of the office or someone that's in. We use microphones. So even the audience sitting here, there's microphones there so that they can, if they've got something to say, they can jump on a mic. We have two screens set up in the office. So we've got a screen where we can see all the people and see the chat if they want to put things in the chat. Um, we just really invested in making it an experience that if you're at home and you're here, it's lovely. You feel part of it. You can talk and you can say what you want to say, and just really built on the content to make sure that we're getting the right content that people want to hear, hearing about what we're proud of, hearing about what's going on, talking about personal achievements and all these different things. But it's a destination in the month to be at that team meeting, and if you miss it, it's recorded. You can watch it back.
Yeah. And then is it quarterly you do these big in person thing like you have tomorrow?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
how how do they work?
So we do a mixture of sometimes they're more work focused. So we did one February time where we asked a potential client to come in and give us a challenge for the day. And we broke everyone up into teams and they went off and tried to solve this challenge. And then they come back and present to the client, bit Dragon's Den style. So that's a fun format. We've done that a few times with different businesses, either clients that are already clients or sometimes prospects. It does work quite well for closing prospects. We have now closed that client. So that's a nice little added bonus, but it's an incredible way to see what the team can produce in like 3 or 4 hours together, and to just mix them up as well and get people that don't get to work together normally get to work together. So that's cool. We do fun one. In the morning, we'll do a team meeting and then we're running a mental health session. So Ellie, who's one of our mental health first aiders, is going to run a session on like how to audit your mental health. And then in the afternoon, we've got a team building company coming in to run a fun session for us. Um, we've also had guest speakers. So last year, actually, we had a guy called Joel come in. He is fantastic. So he used to be the MD of Mecca in South America. He and I shared a stage at a conference together, and I remember thinking, I don't really know how I'm speaking at this conference, and so are you, because absolutely incredible. Like honestly, his session was just amazing. And off the back of that, I was like, you need to come to Kent. Luckily, he's not living in South America now. He lives in Barcelona, so a bit closer. So we brought him to Kent and he ran a half day workshop with the team talking about victim mindset versus protagonist mindset, and how to get yourself to be more of the protagonist, and how we can make ourselves part of the problem, and then how that builds bonds across the businesses. And that that was really good fun. So we've done a few things. We've had Mark Hunter, the Olympic gold medalist rower, in before. So we mix it up between learning something, doing something work wise, and having a bit of fun.
Bringing those people. So how many people are there now across the whole group?
We're about 60, I think, across the two businesses. So yeah, lots of people that and coming from all over. As far as South Africa, a couple of people, but mainly UK. But we've got Scotland all the way down to kind of bottom of Cornwall. So it's a bit of a trek for people, but it's one that I think everyone's happy to make because they get so much out of it.
And I think that dynamic over 60 people, that dynamic changes, doesn't it? Because you don't know, you can't know everyone, and there's different pockets and different bits of expertise here and there. So that in-person stuff, I
Exactly.
imagine, is incredibly valuable. You've also used the expression that your culture, a foundation of your culture, is that you're human first. What can you like explain a little what you mean by human first?
I definitely can. And it is one that we talk about regularly because there's kind of different. I suppose if I go back to firstly why we came up with the name, we were sitting in the boardroom and this was after we'd taken lab and we were like, whoa, we need to tell the world about this now. And what are we going to be? And I guess at that point we were scarred from the word group. So group was out of the window. I was like, I don't want to be a group. So we came up with collective. So that was the first bit of the name. We were like, we're going to be a collective because that feels like a supported place where people do good stuff together. Um, and we landed on human first for a couple of reasons. Like, I absolutely lead human first. I am always, always, always trying to put people first. But I guess you do have to balance what that means. So there's kind of the cuddly side of human first of everyone individually, but there is also a business point. You have to go, what's human first, what's the best for the greater good of everybody here. So that sometimes does mean that you do need to be able to make those tough decisions that might to one human not feel human first, but actually probably in the long run for them it is human first. They're going to leave and go and do something amazing, but that they didn't know was their next step. So I think that sometimes is a tricky one, is how do you straddle that line? But it is thinking about the greater of everybody and of our clients as well, what's going to be best for everyone. But it's also the behavioral science side of what we do. So behavioral science is very much baked into everything we do at Reflect, from how we understand audiences, how we create messaging, how we look after our clients and onboard our clients, and very much the same in lab, in how we build customer journeys across websites and think about how a human is actually going to interact with this piece of technology. So we have to be human first. And I think in a world of AI, we're so pro technology. We love technology. We've got an innovation team that are putting us ahead of other businesses and what we're doing with dabbling with AI. But it's got to be alongside human. There's got to be a human in the loop. So it's kind of how can we use those things to give humans superpowers and be brilliant humans at the front of it, powered by using different technology, but also using our heart and our minds.
Yeah. And so internally, do you ever have the human first bit thrown back at you at all? To you're
We
making
have
a decision.
had Yeah, we have had, and I think not recently, but I think in that first kind of 6 months, 9 months of lab joining us, there was a few decisions that we had to make for making sure that that business was shaped in the right way to go where we were needing it to go, having come from a place where it wasn't making money. And people said that it was probably on one of our Ask Us Anything sessions that doesn't feel very human first, and you just then have to have that conversation around that this is about the most humans here that we can look after to keep you all in a job. Sometimes you do have to make a difficult decision that feels like a bit of a sacrifice, but normally, whenever I would always say to any business owners that are thinking about tricky decisions like that, you never regret it. It always comes round to being, that was the right decision, even though it was really hard. And for that person, and we're filming our own podcast now, Behind the Future, for young people to learn about getting into the industry. And lots of people I interview on that tell me, oh, there was a point where I was made redundant, or there was a point where I lost my job, and all of them say it's a turning point where something better comes. And so it's really hard in that moment for someone to be that. It doesn't feel that way, but it always is a good turning point. They will go on and find something else and they'll go, wow, I've never looked back. This suits me better. This is better for me.
You spoke at the start about the when you first started hiring people and the like that pressure or responsibility that you feel for the people that come and work for you. But you've got someone working for you who's like really unhappy, maybe not really performing, maybe not great for the culture, and actually letting them go at the time feels hard, and you question yourself whether or not that's human first, or whatever the term you use. But actually sometimes it's the kindest thing, isn't it? Because like if someone's not happy in your organization, arguably the best thing you can do is help them in a very nice soft way be able to find somewhere that they can go and work, that they will be happy here.
100%. It is the hardest part of my job ever when we have to say to someone that something's not working out. Like, I literally agonize over it more than anything because I think of the level of empathy that I feel. I put myself in their shoes and it feels really horrible, but it is always the right decision. You never regret it. You never think afterwards, I don't know if we should have done that. It's always because you have gone through it enough before. If you're at the point of making that decision, you've absolutely thought about it properly and you've gone through everything, and it is going to be the right decision. And people have to love what they do. I'm sitting in our like our little studio area at the moment, and it's literally written on the wall next to me: "Life is short. Love what you do." Like, we want people to love coming to work. We want them to love the work they do, the people they work with, the culture they're forming and they're part of forming. It's also important. And if you're not loving it, find a way to love it. Ask questions, change it, or if you have to, move on and go and find something else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I think that like love of work, love of the organisation, the pride you feel for where you work shines through, doesn't it? As does the converse. So one thing I was really keen to talk about is a few years ago, and you made the national news for your implementation of a 4-day work week.
Yes.
So how long ago was that you implemented the 4-day work week?
So that was 2018. So 7 years ago now.
So
Long
quite a
time.
while. And from previous conversations, my understanding is how you operate it is people work 4 compressed days.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
right? And then you let them choose a Monday or Friday to not work.
So that is how we originally started running it. It's much more flexible now, especially since COVID, because it kind of we revamped it fully in COVID. Because actually, there were points where no one wanted to do a 4-day week. They were like, "I'll just work 5 days because there's nothing else to do." Um, But most people are off Fridays if they do a 4-day week. But some people do a 4.5-day week, and some people choose to do a 5-day week. It works better for them to do their hours spread across the 5 days. It works better with childcare or other commitments, getting to the gym or whatever. But we also have core hours. So our core hours are between 9 and half 4. But around that, you can finish your hours whenever you want. So even on your 4-day week, you can at half 4 go home, log off, go to the gym, if you've got kids, do the dinner, etc., etc. And then you can sit on the sofa and do the last bit of work at the end of the day, if that's what suits you. And I think that level of flexibility is really important. Like, there were agencies, especially when we were doing the 4-day week, there were some agencies coming out going, you can work any time as long as you do your hours. And I'm like, that doesn't work. Like, if someone chooses to work at 3 a.m., if they've got a problem or they need to talk to someone, no one else is up except for maybe some other crazy person that wants to work at 3 a.m. But we need to have those core hours. That we are such a collaborative business. So much of what we do, we're talking to each other, we're sharing, whether it's on video calls or Slack or email. We need to be able to communicate. And we also need to be around when our clients are around. They're certainly not going to be up at 3 a.m. Answering our questions. So for us, having those core hours means that we are operational when we need to be, but we've given people the flexibility, and I think it works really, really well.
Okay. And so is there any advice that you'd give another business looking at the 4-day week?
So we made our people part of the problem. So we gave them some guardrails, and actually it was before I even knew that phrase that Joelle taught us. We gave them some guardrails. We gave them like an FAQs of some rules around it that we kind of saw needed to frame it. But then we said, you go and make it work. This is a trial. If we have clients complaining, if we lose clients over this, if you guys aren't doing great work or aren't enjoying what you're doing, we'll have to go back to the way we used to do things. Um, or make it work. Like, that's the aim. In your teams, find a way that this works, and they absolutely did that. Like, it's not even a question anymore. So like, we used to have things like, if you didn't work a Friday, you'd put your out of office on and you would email Friday at Reflect Digital, and that would go to everybody that works on a Friday to make sure that someone could help you. We don't even need to do that anymore. Like, our clients know, they know who to talk to on certain days. Like, it just is the most natural thing. But I think we had to start with a bit more rigor and a bit more uh, rules in place and ways to do things, because also it is new to clients. And we did have clients test this. Most clients, their reaction was, I can't wait to see how this works. I'd love to do this in my business. But we had a couple that went, 4 o'clock every Friday, I am going to send you an urgent thing that I need looking at, and I'm going to see if you can do it. And we would absolutely do it every time. But we'd also be sitting there thinking, this was not urgent at 4 o'clock on a Friday. They probably knew about this yesterday. But they just wanted to test us. They are no longer a client out of choice, I think. But yeah, at the time, yeah, that's what it was.
Do you do a 4-day week yourself?
So I do a 4.5, I would say, somewhere between 4.5 and 7 days. It depends what's going on. It depends what's going on. But yeah, 4.5. So Friday mornings is I do PT, I go to Pilates, I go and have brunch with someone, sometimes a friend, but also sometimes I'll use that as a great chance to meet up with someone work wise to go, yeah, let's grab that coffee that day. And then I try and take the afternoon off. But I also think it changes in the seasons. So in winter, I probably end up working a bit more on a Friday because you're like, it's dull outside, it's raining, there's not much, like, what's the benefit? Whereas in the summer, and you're like, the pub beer garden's cooling, the sun is out, it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
beautiful. You go, do you know what? I really, really want to make the most of having my Friday off. So it definitely varies. But I think back to my original point of one of the reasons I founded the agency was to create somewhere that I would want to work and that I gave that benefit to other people. What this means is that the team have that benefit as well. Like, they don't have to work on a Friday. They can finish at half 4. So all those things that I enjoy as a benefit, they have as well. And I think that's the really important thing. I remember I used to just watch those directors in that business that wasn't the best. And they would swan around, and obviously I appreciate now they probably weren't swanning around as much as it looked like they were. And actually, I appreciate a lot more of the stress that they would have been under and things they might have been doing from home and whatnot. But they weren't very good at demonstrating that they were working hard and making you feel motivated. Whereas I try really hard to show the team that I'm absolutely by their side, doing the graft as well, growing this business together. But also, we've got these lovely perks that we all enjoy.
Like one quick question that I would really like to understand that may or may not be relevant is, so with your father's business, did he have a similar culture? And when you talk to him about what you do, does it make sense to him?
Yeah, they loved working there. They had the most fun. I mean, their parties, I think when we look back at businesses from years ago, I think their parties were probably wilder than we do today. We're all a bit more cautious these days. But they had a culture. I mean, they when my dad sold his business, some of his senior team that had kind of grown through the ranks went on to create their own next business. And then they employed quite a few people from his business, and then they've gone on, and a lot of them still work together today, like 20 years later. So it's it was a family culture. It was a we look after each other, and yeah. So that was embedded in me from day one. In this is how a good company runs.
Really clear. So that legacy bit's really interesting. Is that legacy something that you ever think about, or is it too soon in the journey yet to think about legacy?
I definitely like we always talk about that, like some people come and work here for a short time and some people work here for a long time. We've got people that have been here 8, 9 years. So some people really do stay a long time. And I always for them, I always love the thought that they would look back on their time here as somewhere that they grew, somewhere that they created good relationships and that they really enjoyed working here. And yeah, I want this business to be something that people are proud to have either worked within or worked as a client of, because we really try and make sure that our culture extends to our clients and they get that warm, fuzzy feeling that we have internally. It's not really popular to talk about using family as a value. A lot of people go, oh, no, that's really terrible. But I think we've found how to make that work. Like, we absolutely are not more important than your own family. And that shines through. And the team absolutely know that from those moments where they need to be with their family. And we will completely support them through that, but it's the way we challenge each other, support each other, are here when you need us, but also here to kind of push each other and go, do you know what? You could do better at that. Come on. We want you to grow. And it's all those things that your family should be able to say to you that we've tried to create in our culture. So it's I know it's always a divisive one to talk
Yeah,
about.
no, no, no. So actually, let's do it. Let's go there. So, wow, we talk about family first, and what we mean is that, you know, whatever's going on with your family, and everyone will have different things. Before, you talked about bereavements, for example, but it might be, um, this afternoon I'm going to watch my daughter play cricket, for example. Like, I'll finish at 4 o'clock and I'll go and watch her play cricket. Like, family first, something we like really encourage everyone to do. That a little, like you said, your family's outside. The I think lots of people like at Wow would say that we have a family atmosphere, but then to take your point about having a lot, and I'm cautious about using that for the reason because it's divisive. I'm cautious about saying, "Oh, we're a family," because actually there aren't many members of. You might be different. There aren't many members of my family that I'd sit down and give feedback to.
On that, like I always say, like if I went dress shopping with my mum and she put something on and I thought she looked terrible in it, I would absolutely tell her. I would not let her. And same with your family. If they had like a bit of spinach in their teeth, you're going to tell them they put spinach in your teeth. So you would give them feedback.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
wouldn't sit them down and go, "Oh, over Sunday lunch, I didn't like the way you said X, Y, and Z, and I think you could have said it better." You're less likely to do that, but you will give them feedback.
And maybe that's a more human thing to do. Have you ever fired a member of your family?
I fired my best friend, so that was tricky. Yeah, I did. And she'd been my bridesmaid the year before. Yeah, it was really hard. She'd worked for us as office manager, but things came to light that she wasn't putting her all into the job, and I really needed her to be, and yeah, we had to part company. We are still friends, and we've had to work at that, and we're not friends like we used to be, and we don't tend to talk about work with each other. But I still really care for her. But yeah, so I mean that's as close to family as you can get, and you do see tricky things happening. Like obviously, Paul and I are married, but we have to give each other feedback. We have to tell each other sometimes if we don't think we've handled something the right way, and we have to get on with it. But I think what works well with us as husband and wife is we're very yin and yang. What he's really brilliant at, I'm not very good at. and what I'm really good at, he's not so good at. So therefore, we kind of also know each other's areas, and we really respect each other's feedback if it's something in particular that's more our superpower.
And so that's quite interesting as well. Like working together as a married couple. Do you have any like rules or boundaries that you set? So if you go out for dinner tonight, will you be talking about work?
Probably. We're not very good with boundaries. Normally, the boundary Paul sets is if we're about to fall asleep at night. My brain, that's when lots of ideas come in, and he's like, "Do not tell me. I don't want to know." Because whereas I almost need to empty my brain to be able to go to sleep, he then his brain will start ticking, and then he can't get to sleep.
Oh,
So
because poor guy, his
literally,
brain's already empty, and then you're starting to load it up with the stuff coming out of your brain.
exactly. And I'll go and drop a bombshell of, I had this idea that we should do this thing. And he's like, oh my God, why have you done this to me now? No. So yeah, that's probably our main boundary is not before bed.
So as a slightly broader point, you've talked a lot. We've talked a lot about how you support your team, how you supported people in the team, the culture. You've said a bit about you doing sort of like 4.5 days and doing PT and Pilates, but looking back over the last 14 years, there's been some must have been some massive stress points, massive pressure on you personally. How do you deal with that? What have you learned over that time? Do you feel like you deal with it now better than before? I suppose, like, what tips would you have for anyone else like in your
Yeah,
position?
it's a good one. Yeah, because it is hard to look after yourself and put yourself forward first when you're trying to put everybody else first and the business feels like it's so important. I think I have learned that it's not that important, certain things. Like you have to prioritize things, and often I think we self-impose deadlines on ourselves, and we self-impose things that actually don't really mean anything. And actually, the quicker you can go and have a conversation with someone of, this thing's really stressing me out because you said you want me to do this by this time, but I actually can't do that with everything else I need to do. Can it be a week later? And normally they just go, yeah, no problem. And you go, oh, okay, that's a load off the shoulder. Um, so I think I've got better at just being really open around managing expectations and asking, do you actually need this then? Or how can we change things up a little bit? Um, I work out, that's really important for me. So again, like the way that we do our hours, I'm an early morning workout person, but not super early. I'm not crazy. Like a 6:45, 7 a.m. And that sets me up for the day. So I end up with non-negotiables around, no, I'm not doing that meeting at 8 a.m. because that means I can't do my workout. So therefore I will not be in the best place for that. So trying to, and again, I tell the team to have those non-negotiables. We um we bring our little dog to work. You may have heard him bark a couple of times. I've heard him. But he's brilliant because it means at lunchtime, I have to give him a walk, rain or shine. He can't go to the toilet in the office, luckily. So we need to get out. But it's great because it means I have to get out. I have to have a lunch break. And actually, I'm quite religious about taking my hour, go and have a nice walk, pick up something to eat, come back. And then you feel a bit more set up for the afternoon. So really trying to set the team up as well to say, like, we try and encourage not people not to eat at their desks. We've got a lovely kitchen area. So it's like go and sit in the kitchen, talk to someone you don't always talk to, get away from your desk, out for a walk. So yeah, all those things. And I think just being honest with yourself and having a good network that you can talk to, whether that's a worky network or whether it's friends. I've sometimes found friends, it's sometimes my work friends, if it's a really big work stress, are better than my personal friends because they just can't always relate fully. But sometimes they will also snap you out of something and get you into a place where they go, I know what will really cheer you up. Let's go do this thing. And then that's brilliant. So it's kind of having that support network and knowing who to use for what to help you with where you want to be.
Possibly a cliche, but like running any kind of business can be a bit of a lonely endeavor, right? And I think it's really interesting you highlighted the importance of talking to people. Certainly, that's certainly something that I've learned over my time at WoW. Is like I went to a talk in the early days, and someone said about like, "Do you crying in the shower?" And I thought, well, I just need to like put on the brave, strong face, and actually, probably like the worst possible advice. Like you say, really interesting about friends outside of work. Hey, that sometimes people that haven't run a business can be the best or the worst person to go to.
And I think it's not being annoyed with those friends if they can't quite see what you're doing, because it is different. And I remember it from being an employee in a business to thinking differently than what I would think now, as knowing what it's like on the other side of running it. So you just have to find your way and work out. It's more your problem than anyone else's of who's going to be your best support for different challenges. But absolutely do not do the crying in the shower. Do the Find someone to talk to, and have those like our non-executive director Nikki, as I mentioned her earlier. She's really important sounding board for the business, and she's been really good holding us to account on things that we want to do, because it's really easy to just go, yeah, we've got these scram pounds, we're going to make these things happen, and then you get busy and you don't necessarily achieve what you're trying to achieve. Having someone slightly external but really kind of personally invested in wanting to help make things happen can really push you to go, no, I've got to get that done. So yeah, it's a bit of everything.
Yeah, and like Nikki's great. We've had Nikki on the podcast and like incredibly popular episode, and very interesting. So looking to the future, Becky, like what's on your mind? What's your plan? Do you have like a 5-10 year plan?
Something Nikki helped us with. We've got a vivid vision which goes to the end of 2026 for Reflect. Lab has one as well, although with Dean joining the business, I think we're probably going to do a little revamp on that. Um, from a human first perspective, I think we will be looking to welcome some more agencies into the group. Oh, they called it a group, the collective. Um, at some point, but it needs to be the right time. It needs to be the right fit. Business wise, we need to have the right stability and be ready. I feel like we've learned so much in how to make the culture piece work. Like, I am really excited about the prospect of being able to bring another business in at some point. To be able to, and I've been doing a bit of advising on that with businesses that are looking to do this kind of thing, because I just feel like there's so much we've learned about it that actually it'd be mad not to welcome more in. But I think what's most important is that the businesses that we have are doing really well. We've also Aspiration Digital, which is my big passion project, helping young people learn about how to get into the digital sector. We held our biggest event yet in March, which was 1,000 students, which was incredible. And then I've gone mad, I think the team think, and said, I want to do another 4 or 5 before the end of the year. And we're going to go around the country. So we've just secured Newcastle. So we're going to be going to Newcastle. But watch this space. There's going to be more locations. It's going to be bigger, better. We've got the podcast growing for that as well. But I just have a real passion to help young people. I think there's a lot of people feeling a bit disconnected, thinking AI is going to take all the jobs, and not knowing about these incredible careers that we have just waiting for people to join. And actually, if we can inspire them, then they're going to be much more likely to take the right steps to get into the career, as opposed to falling, which is what most of us do. I fell into it, and most of our colleagues fell into it as well.
Yeah, and I think that bit about role models that we talked about before, possibly with our fathers, but like you as a role model, I think it is terribly powerful.
Oh, thank you. I try, and yeah, it's like when we look for speakers for Aspiration Digital, it's about having a real mix of people. We want young people that feel like they're maybe only a few steps away from the sixth formers in the audience, through to people that are 30, 40 years into their career that can tell you all the changes they've seen and where they see things going, and then everything in between, so that they've got all these different points of reference to go, these are the steps I could be taking and the places I could get to.
One final question for you. This is obviously the Beautiful Business podcast. Everything we talked about today is highly aligned with beautiful business philosophy, and I'd love hearing more about like how you operate and your values. What does beautiful business mean to you?
So I think it is being able to be a business that is ambitious and has goals and can be successful as a business and be profitable, but whilst putting people at the heart of it, and for those people to love what they do, to be well looked after in all respects of whether that's financially and the packages they have, but also in how they're being developed and how they're growing. Like, I want every person that ever comes through our business to leave a stronger, better person than what they arrived, because we've been able to help them. So to me, that would be it. It's not one or the other. You don't have to just be cute and cuddly, and that means you can't be a business. You can do both. You can look after people, but you can also be a business, make money, and be successful.
What advice then would you have for anyone listening to this? If there's anyone out there listening to this, they've been inspired by what you've had to say, by the conversation we've had. What advice would you have for someone who's looking to develop their business along similar principles to you have?
I think always running decisions in your head through being able to put yourself into other people's shoes. So decisions, yeah, thinking about, so if I was the new person that's just joined as a junior, how am I going to feel about what you're telling me? And how can I make that more palatable or easier for them to understand? Like, we're super transparent every quarter. We put quarterly reports out. We show the team all the numbers and everything they need to or could want to know about the business. But for some people, that's also quite daunting, and they're like, I don't really understand what this means. So it's then thinking, we need to have something in place that means if you are that junior person that doesn't know, you've got a space to ask questions, not feel silly, and learn what you need to do to understand what we've presented you with. So yeah, I think it's just keep always anything you're deciding to do as the business, think about how it affects the people, how you can make sure they understand and they see your thinking and where things are going, and that they can be a part of the problem as well. They can help you in what you're trying to achieve.
That is 100% my takeaway from today's conversation. Make people part of the problem. I
Yeah,
think it's like really,
definitely.
really great mindset. Becky, thank you so much for joining us. I
Thank
love talking
you.
to you.
It's been brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Beautiful Business Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, then please remember to subscribe and leave us a review. For more advice and practical tips on what it's really like to build a beautiful business, visit our content hub at wowco.uk/hub or check out the link in the show notes.